Welcome to The Why.
Where we end up talking about the human element behind most everything, depending on the week.
And answering the age-old question, why? Today, Keegan's got a great topic that he's going to tell us a little bit about. Hit it.
Okay. So, Mitch, do you happen to know anything about or have any opinions on Black Friday in general?
I love those sales. I'm planning on buying a computer this one.
Well, actually, believe it or not, there's a story behind why it got called Black Friday, and kind of it's not as fun as you might expect, but it's also kind of interesting to look back and see how we can take certain things that are, quote, unpalatable, unquote, and turn them into something that, quite frankly, anyone will accept given enough time, and to borrow a term from somebody else, cultural head-binding.
Interesting. That'll be very fun to learn about. Fascinating, in fact.
Yes, one of my favorite words. But, okay, quote, and this is going to be a long quote, just so you know.
All right, I'll brace myself.
Quote from history.com. First use of the term Black Friday was applied not to holiday shopping, but to a financial crisis. Specifically, a crash on the U.S. gold market, where two Wall Street financiers worked together to basically buy a bunch of gold and drive the prices up artificially, which caused a significant collapse on the U.S. economy during the times. Of course, this was 1869, so it wasn't doing that well anyways. It had just gotten out of the Civil War, so that may have helped with some stuff, but anywho.
Interesting.
Okay, and quote again. The most commonly repeated story behind the post-Thanksgiving shopping-related Black Friday tradition links it to retailers. As the story goes, after an entire year of operating at a loss in the red, stores would supposedly turn a profit and went into the black on the day after Thanksgiving because holiday shoppers spend so much on discounted merchandise. Though it's true that they used to record, that retail companies in particular, used to record losses in red and profits in black when doing their accounting, this is not it's the officially sanctioned, but it's not the accurate story behind why it's called Black Friday.
So is there truth then behind that? That's when they go in the black and start making a profit? Or do you think that's just old wives' tale?
I mean, there's enormous amounts of people. I'm fairly certain that they do turn some profits to it, but not as much as we might expect, especially given how much they're discounting the merchandise, how much they have to pay their employees to be there on that particular day.
Very true.
Benefits, extra shipping costs, other stuff like that. And it's transferred more to online now, so it's starting to just...
That's Cyber Monday.
Yes.
That's all the comfort from home.
Where you can just go shopping no matter when, no matter what you're doing. Heck, if you want to get up at 3 a.m. just wearing a pair of pajama pants and an old NFL jersey, you can.
Yeah, of course. You gotta have that NFL jersey. Also, I was just thinking, did we introduce ourselves when we first started?
Well, we offhandedly mentioned our names, but...
Did we say our names? Okay. I was thinking, I wasn't sure if we said our names.
It might help if we actually properly introduced ourselves.
Well, I'm just gonna say I'm Mitchell. You could say, are you wanting to do last names too?
No, it's too much information out there anymore. But we want to extend a proper welcome as we are the hosts of The Why, Keegan and Mitchell.
That's me, Mitchell. All right, anyways, continue on with what you were saying. I just was trying to think if we had introduced ourselves, if we just went right into it.
That just shows kind of how excited we are for this.
Very
and
true.
how absent-minded we can be. So... generally, when it comes to turning profits, according to the article that I've read with this, and you guys feel free to either come up with other explanations or do more research on your own and talk with us later, but They do say specifically that it is more common for retail stores in general to turn a profit on the Saturday before Christmas. Don't know how true that exactly is, so again, feel free to do more research as you feel, but I'm going with this, and it sounds...
Yeah, please, if
feasible.
you have different research, provide it in the comments or a review, and just write out all your studies and findings, and we'll read them.
And of course, give proper credit afterwards.
APA format, please.
So, in recent years, another myth has surfaced that gives a particularly ugly twist to the tradition, and any of you who may be offended by this, please take note. We do not agree with this.
Trigger warning! Trigger warning!
In recent years, this myth claims that back in the 1800s, southern plantation owners could buy slaves at a discount on the day after Thanksgiving. Though this version of Black Friday's roots has understandably led some to call for a boycott of the retail holiday, and this is the next part that we do agree with, it has no basis in fact whatsoever. Though why people would even get that in their mind is, quite frankly, beyond me.
Yeah. I mean, just black and black, I guess. They just... Like, if someone told me that on the street and I didn't know any better, I could see believing that without looking up and doing any research, for sure.
True. The true story behind Black Friday is not as sunny as retailers might have you believe. And so, quote, back in the 1950s, police in the city of Philadelphia used the term to describe the chaos that ensued on the day after Thanksgiving, end quote. And as such, it somehow doesn't seem surprising, but they did say that it does seem to be one of those days that just lends itself to more chaos than usual since everybody's finally back from their turkey coma.
Yeah. Well, now it's even later. The one that I'm planning on going to, it starts at 5 p.m. on Thursday. It's literally on Thanksgiving. It's ridiculous.
Which also lends itself to another question. Why is it that we seem to be, as a culture, as the American culture specifically, why are we so insistent on extending workdays like this, on like making sure everything is funneled through consumerism, where it's about just buying from everybody else and not actually like giving thanks for what you actually have? I mean, realistically speaking, it's not something we should be particularly proud of, that we have stores open on a major holiday that is built around the idea of gratitude towards loved ones and to the two of us, not saying anything for the rest of you guys, but to the God that allows us to have all this stuff.
True, but you could also argue that it gives those people, they might need the work, it's extra paycheck, probably overtime too. It sucks. It's a sucking job, but it's still, you're getting that paycheck.
And how much does that paycheck cost in the long run?
It pays your bills.
To do what exactly? Let's assume you have a family out there. It pays the bills, but it doesn't really help much if you're basically stuck away from what you really want to be with on Thanksgiving Day, on any real holiday or any chance to see them. You want to see your family on those days, and opening up stores for a few extra sales in the long run of the year is not necessarily going to be that advantageous, especially given we've heard news stories out there about people coming close to beating each other to death over a video game console.
Yeah, there's usually people every year that get trampled to death and stuff like that, but...
And somehow this is considered a natural thing to do because you saw a TV.
It's probably a pretty big TV, though.
You're not playing a good devil's advocate here. You really are, dude.
Oh, well.
But it's mystifying, infuriating, and I feel it's revealing.
Interesting. What do you think it reveals?
That we as a culture, as people, are kind of addicted to this idea of getting more. As humans, and this is something that you can disagree with me on, but I feel that we are naturally going to be greedy and want to look out for numero uno, which is basically what can I get out of it.
Yeah.
And generally, like, I honestly don't want to believe that for a specific reason. I want to feel like everybody has the chance to rise above such base instincts and actually care about their fellow man. But realistically speaking, looking at most things nowadays, we aren't really looking to do that anymore, given the political climate we're in right now, given just the inundation of needing newer and newer stuff, including like computers and phones, where we need better technology faster and faster and faster, which also hurts people in the manufacturing business. You remember the iPhone, what was it, the iPhone 10 that bent, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, it's odd that we are so unbelievably addicted to getting more stuff faster.
Oh, yeah.
There's a quote from an author that I seem to recall. I don't remember exactly the verbiage, but it was from C.S. Lewis, and he said something to the effect of, in one of his nonfiction books, not the Chronicles of Narnia series that most of us know and love.
Yeah.
He said, essentially, if you had seen a society that had basically teased food the same way that our culture unfortunately also teases sex in movies, don't you think something would have gone a little wrong? The problem is it's already happened. And that was 60 years ago.
Okay. So you're saying, like, there's too much... What's your point there? You're saying there's too much sex in movies? Is that what you're saying? Or what?
No,
I'm saying
it's a kind of it's a parallel, basically.
Okay.
We have gotten to the point where we're buying stuff. So commerce and stuff have become the effective, or de facto gods of our society. And we still, on paper, on our dollar bills, specifically say that in God we trust.
It's a little ironic to say that it says in God we trust, but you think it's the de facto God. That's a little ironic. But anyways,
I mean, yeah, it was meant to be a reinforcement when they originally came up with the dollar bill question, which that is a topic for another day. It's very interesting to talk about how that actually came into being, but we will get there when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I could definitely even understand, like, opening up early on, say, the Friday after Thanksgiving. But what's really the point of opening up on Thanksgiving Day at, like, 5 or 6 o'clock?
More money. Well, actually, the one that's at 5 o'clock, what I read is at Best Buy, that's where it was at.
Okay.
They open up early that day, and then their goal is to be completely done with the entire sale by 1 a.m. so their employees don't have to stay there all night long. That was the reasoning behind it. Okay. Most likely, though, it's probably just to make a lot more money, because then it's like everyone wants to go that one first because it's open earliest, so you'll go there, spend a lot of money on tech, and then go to other places.
And theoretically, that keeps you in their store buying their stuff rather than any other competitor. Because, say for example, you toss out the main big box stores like Target, Walmart, that sort of thing. They're gonna have a lot of the same. They're gonna have smaller sections of tech. Best Buy can offer more of that. In general.
Yeah,
and at possibly lower prices sometimes, but. Yeah, most of it is strategies to just try to get more and more money flowing through it. And
oh, yeah, 100%. That's all it is. Just trying to make as much money as possible.
And that is, I mean, that money alone is not bad. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just, there's a saying, actually, that I've picked up from a bunch of different people. I've heard a lot of people say it. Is that money is an amplifier, just like power. It takes a person's soul, it takes a person's, like, inner thoughts and can make them kind of like, it can make it real almost. It can amplify it up to a certain extent where it is no longer healthy if you're not careful.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something you can't like let it consume you completely. But also at the same time, you could argue that you're managing your money better by buying stuff on Black Friday, and you're not like just being obsessed with it. You're actually trying to be thrifty.
Fair. But really, you could do the same sorts of things. You don't necessarily have to worry about like getting an extra $15 off, say, newest game system if you budget properly. But that also leads to an interesting kind of criticism I have of the society, specifically the schooling system, which does not actually ever teach how to budget properly. It doesn't teach how to do a lot of the stuff that's necessary to being able to keep your finances in good order.
Yeah, they don't really. Like in high school, I took a class for just how to do finances for a small business, but there wasn't any for just personal finance, which is kind of funny.
Which realistically, it's kind of important. You need to kind of know what taxes are, how you should pay them, if you need to pay them, like going through what you would need.
Or like how to file them at least, or something.
How to file them properly. And budgeting is one of those key things where I get it that parents should have a more involved role, but you can't just expect like to have every kid have two parents who know what they're doing, actually love the kid, and really do what they can to instill every bit of knowledge they can. And if the kid forgets it, then hey, they did their best. But if it's to a certain extent where they either forgot to get around to it or didn't teach the child, it's like there's a thought that just popped in my head. It's kind of like having a backup set of genes just in case. Like,
okay,
I know it's a weird comparison, but hear me out.
Like you're saying, having a secret clone in case you need some organs. Is that what you're the backup genes? Or do you mean like genes, like blue genes?
No, like
DNA.
Like DNA.
Junk, right? Okay.
The main thing is we all took like a 5th grade science class.
You dropped out by 5th grade, but both of us did it, so we got that.
But we all know, essentially, or most of us know at least, that we have 2 copies of our genetics. One from our mom and one from our dad.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is by having those 2, say for example that one of the genes that has to do with being able to move your pinky the right way. I don't know.
Okay.
Move one of your pinky fingers the right way.
But like the genes in to tell your body to make a pinky. Okay.
Or for that matter, or how to like make a muscle that is in the hand.
Okay.
Then, if your dad's gene isn't up to the task or just wasn't made properly to begin with, the mom's gene comes in and actually takes care of that sort of thing, or vice versa, where it can actually kind of fix what's going on and nothing really goes wrong with it. So, kind of like having a backup system in place where maybe you don't have to make it mandatory, but you make it optional to where if people want to learn about finance, you say, here's some stuff, here's some resources, we can help teach you this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, hey, you've completed this high school, here's a diploma, and have fun out in the real world.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of the reason why there's not many of those personal finance classes, though, is because like schools get all their funding pretty much from like the tests and the population and stuff, and like you do better on tests, you get more funding, so it motivates a school to just teach to the test. Which there's issues with that for sure.
There's a lot of issues which we won't go into today because that's just a lot of problems. But going back to the budgeting thing, it's like it should be common sense, but it's really not. Because oftentimes it can be hard to squirrel away money, but
especially when you're just starting out, when you're making minimum wage, that's like almost impossible to do that without going into debt.
And yeah, debt is one of those bad things that everybody says, hey, you should. That's where college stuff comes into play, where taking student loans out, it's like you don't necessarily need to. Personally, I suggest if you look for scholarships, there's probably a few out there, but either take it slow. You don't have to like rush to get your college degree like in 2, 3, 4 years. You can take an extra year or so.
Yeah, like hypothetically, someone could take like 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 years to get their college degree.
You said hypothetically in a very strange voice, Mitch.
No, it's just hypothetically.
So,
but
I'll question that later.
Yeah, but I feel like with student loans and stuff, it's like a cost analysis thing. Like, if you know you're going to be able to find a job that you'll be able to pay off that debt, then 100% you should do it. But if it's like you're doing something and you're not going to even use that for your job or something, it's a waste of money. Like, I feel like schools shouldn't just tell people right out of the gate, like, you need to go to college when you're 18 and decide what you're going to do. Like,
right, and
it's a mistake.
And they ask, like, kids of 13, 14, what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah.
How are they supposed to know?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know for sure what I want to do yet.
I know what I want to do, but there aren't really any college degrees out there for it, and it's going to take a lot more income to actually, like, do that.
Yeah. Like, getting that income, that's the tricky thing.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
And then society comes in and says, like, oh, wait, is that all you have? What about your neighbor? He has this, that, and the other thing.
Oh.
Where it's kind of trying to... We get pressured into keeping up with each other because, appearances have to be everything, and that includes having that new Ram truck in the driveway if you're a guy.
Gotta love that Ram. This episode is brought to you by Ram, by the way.
Not really.
Thank you for sponsoring us.
Oh, boy. Anywho, or having that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that is, that looks perfect, has new coat of paint on the outside. You have the job at the office that everybody dreams of, but in doing so, you now have, going off of estimates that I'm just pulling out of my head right now, like, say you managed to get that house for $350,000 or something like that.
That's a good deal on that big a house.
Yeah.
Dang.
Like, I'm just pulling it out of my head right here.
I've been looking for, because I kind of would like to buy a house sometime soon. And I was looking around, and in the town we live in, there's, 100,000 buys you, a meth lab.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's awful. So
it'd be better to buy the meth and sell it elsewhere.
100%, yeah. I don't know. It's rough. So that's definitely something I've put on the back burner now.
Yeah. So, $300,000 for that kind of a house, or even a smaller one, say 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and has, I don't know any other figures. And then you have a car that you had to take a loan out on for, say, most of them go for $20,000 to $25,000, right?
Yeah, a new one would, yeah.
Okay. So, that already puts you way down on the, way below the threshold of 0 for debt. Yeah. And then you have, and assuming that you decided to go to college for, say, a business degree or something else, where you were able to get a job and boom. But that's still, another... Depends on what college you go to, but those loans could exceed $50,000 or more if you're going easily to a major institution, say the state university, so University of Oregon or University of Kansas or something like that. So where it's a major piece of major piece of the state.
Or if you go to a private school, it's even more too.
So it kind of puts you at $400,000, $500,000 in debt, and that's on the low end if you're looking for a bigger house, or if you're struggling with credit cards or struggling with other stuff like that. That just keeps ratcheting up higher and higher and higher in an effort to make you seem like you got it all under control by spending more, it seems like.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think then, should people not buy houses? Because it's going to be very difficult to buy a house without going into debt.
Right, that's one of the things where that's kind of a difficult subject to tackle for a couple of different reasons, because it's nice to not have to worry about, wait, did I pay rent this month? But also, it's a major investment. I know sometimes some people decide to buy a house and then they just resell it if they either decide, okay, we need to move for some unknown reason, or they just want more equity, for example, or something.
Yeah, well, like everyone always says, real estate's the best thing you can invest in because they're not really making new land. So
right, it's an investment in your future is another thing I've heard because it's able to give you somewhere you can live if you bought it with a house on it, and even if you didn't, it gives you practically not endless possibilities, but it gives you a lot of different things. So you could build a house on it. You could you can make it into farmland given the right stuff.
Yeah, very true.
And it's one of those that you can flip if you've made it, if you've like upgraded it quite a bit. So, for example, you turned a plot of land you got into somewhere where you could build a small business if you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
and just build it up from the ground. You flip it over, and that plot of land you bought for, we'll assume it's like, I don't know how much land goes for nowadays. Actually,
depends on how much and where it is.
Fair.
I don't know. You can make up a number.
Say $50,000.
Sure.
And you turned that into kind of like a place where you could build a small business or a new franchise, and then you turn and sell that property and the rights to that building, or for that matter, to that franchise, over to somebody else, and you've just flipped it and earned
a lot of money. Yeah,
large amounts of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But the problem comes from it's a very big long-term investment, and you have to know you're ready for it.
Oh yeah, and if it fails, it'll definitely you could go bankrupt if you mess it up.
And that's one of the bigger problems with buying a house. And also, it's kind of interesting to look at how it used to be an achievable piece of the American dream back in, say, the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Where you didn't necessarily have to worry about the two parents going to work and having to stress about money over and over and over again because either the mortgage you're coming up short with the mortgage or something else like that.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's just it's
not really practical to buy a house now
unless
it takes you got to be really well into your life before you do it,
or you have to have done a lot of stuff right. So, for example, my relative of mine, he's actually able to buy a house, and he's just been working with this. I forget what company it is, but he's been working for a while now, and he was able to build up enough savings with enough advice from the parents and be able to kind of figure out life pretty. I feel like it was pretty easy for him to figure out life, but I've talked to him.
Lucky him.
But that might just be my perspective and the fact that I'm still kind of young compared to him.
Oh, yeah.
And as such, he's been able to get the paperwork done, get everything taken care of to buy an actual house and think about upgrades and actually getting a new car. And that's just by working with himself, basically. And so, yeah, it's still possible, but you have to put a lot more effort and thought into it than what might be considered practical.
Do you think that you would ever try to flip a house? Would you ever do that? Is that something that appeals to you at all?
Might be an interesting project. Give it a couple of tries.
Couple of tries.
And this is assuming I get the amount of income to just play with that idea. Yeah.
What about taking out a loan, remodeling the house, and then selling it to pay back that entire loan and get a profit? Where would you put that on the risk scale? Too risky, or you're willing to risk it?
Well, I'd say it's too risky, but that's partially because there's a risk reward component to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the reward worth what you're going to be risking for it, and can you pull yourself back up from that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And generally, you're not going to make near as big of a profit as you would think you would just by flipping a house. You have to take out a pretty large loan and be approved for it, first off.
Yeah. If you do it right, though, it could work. Like those what are their faces? The people who had the show on HGTV, and then they stopped, and now I think they're coming back, and they have the family, and they're always on magazines. I don't know their names.
Yeah.
Comment below what their names are.
It does work out sometimes, but they're in the business of doing it precisely that.
Yeah, I think it's something that you definitely would have to be experienced with. Like, you'd want to do very low risk starting out, and then you
low
just
risk,
go crazy after that.
and then just figure things out as you, not figure things out as you go, but figure out what you best like with what it might best work as a opportunity to improve it pretty easily. And you don't have to pump too much money or resources into it. Otherwise, it's just, you basically break even.
Oh,
because you have to worry about resources.
Time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in projects like that, it's very easy to go over budget too. Like, so easy to like. It wouldn't be your stomach, but like your home remodeling is. Your eyes are bigger than it. Like, that's a terrible analogy. It doesn't make any sense. But
I mean, well, it works, honestly. It's like, it's a trick of thinking, I can do this. And yes, you can, but was it a good idea? Maybe not.
Yeah. And then you just burn it down for the insurance money.
That's where your mind went?
Yeah.
Really? I mean,
you gotta get out of it somehow.
Also, that would make it kind of suspicious, But, anyway.
Yeah.
I think we got way off topic off of Black Friday, but at this point, I don't really care.
Yeah, it's good. I like podcasts where, like, there's natural flow to conversation. That's good.
But consumerism, it's centered around that a lot, where consumerism has kind of taken over our society, and appearances on keeping up kind of feed back into it, and it's a constantly repeating cycle where there's new technology coming out practically every day.
At least every year. 2 a year, at least. I don't know what the iPhone's at now.
It's not just iPhones. It's everything. They're working on... robotics is making a big splash with how well they've come along, especially in the past couple of decades. Space travel is starting to be looked at as, is this feasible for more people? Other stuff like that, and in the marketing stuff, there's new TVs coming out, new game systems, new generations of like cars and stuff like that, and everything is built around making sure that you don't fall behind everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask a bit of an open-ended question here, just see what you guys think. And give us some stuff to chew on for a while. What would happen if we stopped subscribing to the myth that we need to have the newest stuff just to feel like we're worth something in this world?
Oh, wow, that's deep.
And I feel it's needed, because, realistically speaking, this is Thanksgiving week. And as such, it's kind of, there's an understanding that we're all grateful for some stuff, but don't we actually take that to heart sometime soon. It could actually change the way we look at marketing stuff. And just going about our daily lives while understanding that we don't need to have, like, the iPhone XS or whatever. We don't need to have that just to feel like we are completed. That the world doesn't own us. And the way we go about, and really it's just kind of an interesting idea that you guys can run with.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's important to know that. I feel like, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like it's not like wanting new stuff. It's not really comparing to other people. It's just like I go, oh, that thing's cool. I would like it.
Fair.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes it's not, and a lot of times it's not a problem sometimes with some people who don't have to keep up. But it's kind of an interesting question to run with nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
When it comes to monetary stuff, sometimes it's about the time you're putting in. What are you going to do with the time that you have?
Yeah.
Are you willing to stand in line for 2 hours to get something new?
That's the hardest thing for me on Black Friday is waiting in lines. if I see a long line, even if it's something that I've been planning on getting, I don't want to do it. I'll just be like, screw this.
Screw this, I'll get it later.
Yeah, I'll just pay extra. Or like the same thing with like, so I have a Costco card and Costco gas is cheaper, but there's always such a long line. And I can go just down the street. It's $1 more for me to fill up my tank, but I don't have to wait in line.
It's convenience.
Uh-huh.
But to finish off, kind of the idea is, are you really willing to spend the most precious commodity that you have just to get a new phone or anything else like that? Or should we reconsider and actually remember what Thanksgiving was before retail and consumerism took over, which was
killing Native Americans.
After that, but before we got things started. You have a really dark mind, dude. But like spending time with family, it's like that's the biggest and most important thing is about time, is that it's a commodity that we can choose to spend.
Yeah. You only get so much too.
And the question that I'm going to leave with basically everybody here to finish things out, I feel like, what does your time mean to you, and how will you best use it? With that, we unfortunately must go back to our daily lives and leave you poor listeners in the dark about our next topic.
See ya.
See you later, guys.